Nigeria Center for Disease Control confirms 90 new coronavirus infections in the country on Tuesday. President Muhammadu Buhari defends his government's borrowings, saying they are needed for capital projects and infrastructure developments. In international news, India surpasses 5 million COVID-19 cases, nears US figures. And in sport, Benfica out of UEFA Champions League qualifying round.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigeria has recorded 90 fresh COVID-19 cases on Tuesday. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC said on its Twitter handle the cases were confirmed in 7 states and Abuja. The center added that 5 persons died on Tuesday from complications resulting from the virus. That number has pushed up the death toll to 1,088. Total number of confirmed cases increased to 56,478. Nearly 44,500 patients have been discharged from various isolation facilities across the country as of Tuesday night. Lagos topped the list with 33 new cases, followed by Plateau with 27. Kaduna recorded 17, Ogun penned in 6, while the Federal Capital Territory confirmed 4 cases. Anambra, Ekiti and Nasarawa reported 1 case each. President Muhammadu Buhari has defended his government's borrowing. He said on Tuesday the nation needed foreign loans to fund critical projects like roads, rail and power in the country. He also said the loans are needed to shore up the deficits in the nation's infrastructure. Presidential Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, made the statement on Tuesday at a meeting with members of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council in Abuja. Many experts and critics have railed against the Buhari administration, accusing it of mortgaging Nigeria's future with the numerous foreign loans. The president says when the projects funded with these loans are completed, foreign investors will start streaming into the country, attracted by good roads, rail, and steady, reliable power. The Nigerian government has spent a huge amount of money over the years subsidizing the electricity and petrol sectors. Now, in light of a downturn in revenue and upturn in COVID-19 pandemic, the government says it can no longer afford the cost. This has seen pump prices rise and electricity rates hiked recently, and the people don't like them. Respondent Dejabad was reporting the debates that surround subsidy removal.
Perhaps no subject is as controversial and touchy as petrol subsidy in Nigeria. Almost every past government in the country tried to do away with it, but met strong resistance. And apart from the demand for better pay, perhaps nothing else has made labor unions in the country to embark on strike than the fight to keep the subsidy. Even the current Nigerian president at some point in the past campaigned to keep the subsidy. But Africa's largest economy is now facing a severe revenue shortage as a result of falling oil prices and the COVID-19 pandemic. The government now says keeping the subsidy is no longer tenable.
This subsidy is something that cannot be sustained in perpetuity. It is time for Nigerians to face reality and do the right thing. It is something that is good to do. It is something that our president would like to do so much because of his love for the common man. But is this something that can be sustained in perpetuity?
With its 4 refineries working far below capacity, Nigeria imports the bulk of the petrol it consumes, spending billions of dollars every year in the process. A sizable amount of the subsidized petrol is also smuggled across the borders and sold in neighboring countries where the product costs more. The government now says the removal of the subsidy will not just save the country money, but also attract investments.
With deregulation, it means that refineries can operate commercially. And then you can see a lot more investment in that sector. And it's going to create a lot of opportunities, a lot of jobs for our people.
Manufacturers in the country have supported the policy, but the labor unions have rejected it and are poised for a showdown with the government.
Man has always agreed that the fuel subsidy is not good for the economy. We have seen this in diesel. When diesel was deregulated, it became more easily available. You don't have to think twice. You don't have to go and sleep in a fuel station to get diesel. Also, the price remained largely stable, so you can plan. This is what we believe should happen to all petroleum products.
The only reason why a number of Nigerians oppose the removal of petrol subsidy is because they believe it will cause the price of petroleum products to go up. And that's exactly what we have seen in the past few weeks. But the government and proponents of the policy say eventually prices will come down, especially when full domestic refining begins to take place. Problem is, many here, including the unions, are not swayed by that.
The United Kingdom has threatened to ban politicians who resort to electoral violence ahead of the Ondo and Edo governorship elections. In a statement posted on Twitter by the UK Embassy in Nigeria on Tuesday, the British government warned that it would seize the assets of such persons. It says it will be sending observers to monitor the conduct of the polls in the two states. The statement expressed the UK's strong stand against election-related violence. It said the country will continue to take action against individuals who are responsible for violence during the elections. The statement says the sanctions could include restrictions of the eligibility of those persons to travel to the UK, and their UK-based assets could also be frozen. They could also face prosecution under international law. The UK government says its High Commissioner to Nigeria, Katrina Ling, has met with political party leaders and has called for a hitch-free election. This warning was issued just one day after the United States placed some Nigerians on visa ban for allegedly compromising recent governorship elections.
Coming up, African stories. ECOWAS mediators unsuccessful in Mali round of talks. And later, international news. India surpasses 5 million COVID-19 cases.
You are watching ANN.
This boy, I go tell your mama for you.
I go tell your mama for you.
Just wait, I go tell your mama for you. Make you wear your mask. If not, I go tell your mama.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The 15-nation economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, was unsuccessful in its meeting in Accra with Mali's military coup leaders on Tuesday. It was the deadline set for the junta to name an interim civilian leader. It has also called for fresh elections within a year. ECOWAS had imposed economic sanctions after last month's overthrow of President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. Tuesday's Accra meeting was an attempt to quicken the transition after the junta pushed through a charter on Saturday that says the interim president can be a soldier or a civilian and has not yet indicated when the new government will be named. The charter approved a multi-party talks in Mali also calls for an 18-month transition as opposed to ECOWAS's call for fresh elections within a year. ECOWAS acting chairman, Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo, said on Tuesday it is not feasible for the junta to delay any longer put the responsible government in place. West African leaders have not said what the consequences would be for failing to meet the deadline. The existing sanctions include border closures and the suspension of financial flows. The bid to tackle increasing cases of COVID-19 in the country, Ethiopia has opened a facility to produce testing kits. It also says its researchers are working to develop and test a vaccine. The country's COVID-19 cases have exploded to nearly 64,000 cases and 1,000 deaths. Correspondent Gideon Chale has the story.
Located in the outskirts of the capital Addis Ababa, at the Bole Lummi Industrial Park, Ethiopia's COVID-19 test kit manufacturing facility is said to be a game changer in the country's efforts to combat the disease. The company producing the testing kit is a joint venture with a Chinese company called BGI Health Ethiopia. Upon commissioning the factory, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed explained the importance of producing test kits locally to help boost the country's testing capacity.
As we had promised, the COVID-19 test kits will now be manufactured in Ethiopia. As you can see here, it's written "Made in Ethiopia." It's a result of the work done between the Ethiopian government and BGI company.
The factory will produce 10 million test kits per year, and according to the Prime Minister, beyond domestic consumption, Ethiopia will soon start exporting the test kits to the rest of the continent. Most African states have been struggling with a shortage of testing kits, ventilators, and intensive care beds.
With 10 million kits production capacity, the output of this factory will serve not only Ethiopia but also the rest of Africa. It's well known that in Africa the number of countries which produce test kits or even with a capacity of test labs is small. Therefore, after satisfying our needs, we will start exporting to our brothers and sisters across the continent.
The joint project between Ethiopia and the Chinese-owned company also aims at opening more COVID-19 testing laboratories across Addis Ababa, including at the Bole International Airport to target transit passengers.
There are more than 2 million transit passengers who pass through our airport every year. Through this project, we'd like to build more labs and use the challenges brought by coronavirus as an advantage to earn the much-needed hard currency.
Upon containment of the COVID-19 pandemic, the manufacturing center will switch to the production of other types of nucleic acid detection reagents. These include AIDS testing kits, tuberculosis nucleic acid test kits, and other locally needed RT-PCR test kit products. So far, Ethiopia has conducted more than 1.2 million COVID-19 tests. Only South Africa and Morocco beat that number in the continent. But with the better availability of test kits because of the new factory, the country aspires to test more number of people daily, which experts say is an important step to defeat the spread of the pandemic.
Ghana is racing to eradicate polio in the country. After a decade of being free from the disease, new vaccine-derived cases were detected in the country last year, prompting a public health emergency. Now, a national vaccination campaign has been launched to protect all children under 5 years old. Correspondent Nabil Ahmed Rafai reports from Accra.
Kate Cheney's baby is getting a polio vaccine, one of over 4.5 million children the government is targeting as part of a mass immunization campaign.
I am very happy my daughter has been given the polio vaccine. I want to protect her from all childhood diseases.
Polio is a highly infectious viral disease transmitted through contaminated water and food and can cause crippling paralysis and sometimes death. For a decade, Ghana was polio-free until last year when a 2-year-old baby contracted the disease and became paralyzed in both limbs.
We haven't had a case of bad polio virus for some years now, but we have a few circulating vaccine-derived polio virus. So we want to ensure that the children, the more vaccines they get, the more immunized they get.
Last year, Ghana recorded 18 cases of vaccine-derived polio, and a public health emergency was declared.
11 cases of polio have been recorded in Ghana this year. Health officials hope by vaccinating these children, they can limit the spread of the disease.
The Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Health Directorate which is carrying out the immunization program, plans to move from one house to another to vaccinate all children under 5 years.
What we want to achieve, first of all, is to make sure that every kid of that designated age is vaccinated and ultimately eradicate polio from our system. That is what we want to do. I mean, we can't allow people to live with a disease which is curable.
The World Health Organization says so far as a single child remains infected with polio, all children are at risk, and more than 95% of the population needs to be immunized for polio to be eradicated entirely. Ghana hopes to reach that target with the vaccination of one child at a time.
When we return, international news. India surpasses 5 million COVID-19 cases. And later, sport. Benfica out of UEFA Champions League qualifying round.
You are watching AN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. India has set a record for the world's highest single-day increase in coronavirus cases. The country reported more than 78,000 cases in one day. India is the world's third most infected country. The rise comes as the government continues to lift restrictions to try to boost an economy that lost millions of jobs when the virus hit in March. Despite the increase, the government is pressing ahead with easing restrictions. Chairman of the Mandetta Division of Peripheral Vascular and Endovascular Sciences, Dr. Rajiv Parej, says doctors are concerned about underreporting and limited testing. COVID-19 deaths in India now stand at 63,000, at par with Mexico. Hungarian university students are set to return to class, but with certain precautions aimed at reducing the spread of COVID-19 infections. Correspondent Isabel Ewing has the story.
This class is a highlight for vet school students, a live horse brought in for a lesson on equine anatomy. Quite the spectacle, and this year it was even more unusual, taking place in a large hall instead of the normal smaller classroom, with students seated at socially distanced desks and wearing masks.
Unfortunately, I have deep concerns about the pandemic, but we want to carry on with our education as far as it's possible. That's why we don't have the class in the lecture room, but here in the main hall. Here we have space to sit the students in safe distances. All of them wear masks. I take it off though during the lecture.
Professor Sjötörnyi has been taking this lesson for 40 years and says it's important for the students to encounter a living animal. He hopes classes can continue as normal.
I find it very important to go like this as far as possible, as long as we don't endanger human health or life. We want to maintain our education in the normal way.
Students here at Budapest Veterinary University are able to attend lectures, but at least one other university in the capital, attendance of lectures is banned. Hungary's case numbers have continued to rise consistently and hit record highs, but Prime Minister Viktor Orban has so far said he will not implement any new restrictions on movement.
Veterinary students are, for the most part, happy to be back on campus.
I'm happy that it started again, but I'm kind of worried for my family and others who I may infect if I get the disease. But I'm not really worried for myself because I guess I'm in good shape.
I'm a bit relieved that I can be with my friends in the university. I think this kind of education is better than the online one.
At other universities in Budapest, including Semmelweis, there are reports of rising case numbers among the student community. On Tuesday, 726 new infections were recorded in Hungary, bringing the total number of registered infections to almost 14,000.
Spanish medics staged a one-day protest in Madrid to demand better working conditions. Protesters want more support from authorities as the recent surge in cases has prompted fear of further infections at a time when pupils are returning to schools. Correspondent Rahul Pathak reports.
Healthcare workers in Madrid have come out to protest. They're concerned over a lack of resources needed to work professionally and fight the pandemic, and their issue is with the regional government.
What they should do first is sit down and talk with us and negotiate a real plan to save our healthcare system. 80 million euros is not enough. We need more than that. Health workers feel distress. They have anxiety. They're collapsing. They don't give their patients the attention they would like, and that's sad. It means doctors are going back home in tears, sadly wondering about what they might find at work the day after. They are not happy at work.
They want to highlight the challenges of primary care and the conditions facing frontline workers who deal with the coronavirus. 6 months ago, many said the health system was underprepared. Authorities had to scramble to acquire appropriate personal protection equipment and essential ventilation units to deal with the crisis.
Yo creo que no se ha mejorado nada y prueba de ello es cómo estamos.
We haven't learned anything. Proof of that is the situation we once again find ourselves in. In March, the healthcare system was like a boat, sinking in record time. Now we are sinking again, but slower. Of course the situation is different from March. We do more tests, there's more trackers, etc. But we got caught out by this again.
Pero nos ha pillado el toro igualmente.
The right-wing regional government, led by Isabel Ayuso, insists this is all politically motivated. They stress it's a union-backed protest that has been organised by opposition groups to undermine their position. The unions claim they have 85% support among the workforce.
Now, these demonstrations across all the state-run hospitals and clinics in the capital are taking place as Madrid accounts for a third of all new infections in this country. Added to that, on Friday, Spain recorded its highest daily infection rate since the pandemic began.
Hospital bed occupancy for COVID-19 nationally remains stable, but the protesters here are concerned that could change quickly. Over 11% of all those infected with coronavirus in Spain have been health workers. For anyone on the front line, that's a truly worrying statistic.
United Arab Emirates has granted emergency approval for the use of a coronavirus vaccine 6 weeks after human trials in the Gulf states started. The third phase of the trial is a COVID-19 inactivated vaccine developed by Chinese-owned state pharmaceutical company, began in the UAE in July and is yet to be completed. The country's National Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management says the vaccine will be available to its frontline health workers who are at the highest risk of contracting the virus.
Up next, sport. Benfica out of UEFA Champions League qualifying round. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, European Cup former winners Benfica crashed out of the 2020-2021 UEFA Champions League third qualifying round on Tuesday. Serbia winger Andrija Zikovic scored against his former club Benfica a week after leaving them. Dynamo Kiev also advanced to the playoff round with a 2-0 home win over Dutch side AZ Alkmaar. Benfica won Europe's Premier Club competition in 1961 and 1962. FIFA have threatened the Federation of International Walking Football Associations with legal action over their logo and plans to hold a World Cup. The sport of walking football was started to encourage older persons to stay active and fit. FIFA are concerned that the logo and hosting of the major tournament could confuse people and potentially cause financial damage to the game's ruling body. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.